Today I got a DELL Inspiron laptop. I am going to replace the hard drive with the new M.2 SSD and do some cloning. I'll show you how to do it. Hey guys, how's it going? Dale here. Today I got this DELL Inspiron 5575 15-inch laptop. Pretty straightforward. It's got the original 1 terabyte mechanical hard drive in it. I'm going to replace that with a brand new Samsung SSD 980 NVMe M.2 Drive. It does have a slot in there that'll support it, and when all is said and done, I'm going to clear that hard drive and put it back in there just for extra storage, just so they have it. It's not the fastest computer in the world. It has a Ryzen 3 2200U processor in it. It does have 8 gigs of RAM. Somebody opened it up at some point and kind of boogered it up a little bit trying to peel it open here. I noticed, and there's some screws missing on the bottom, but I'm going to take care of all that. It'll have all the screws in it when I'm done. So I'm going to clone the hard drive onto the new SSD. She doesn't want to lose any of her stuff. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to use the free Samsung data migration software. Their software is only going to work with Samsung branded drives. So that's how I'm going to clone it. Then I'm going to open up, put in the new M.2, take out the hard drive. I'm going to zap that, then put it back in just for an empty 1 terabyte hard drive. So she'll have tons of storage when all is said and done. So without further ado, I'm going to take my trusty little USB to M.2 SATA or SSD adapter here. Now this only supports NVMe PCI Express drives. You cannot put an M.2 SATA drive in here. It'll go in, but it won't work. So you have to get a different kind of adapter if you're using an M.2 SATA drive. These are pretty straightforward. It comes with a USB A and a C cable. In this case, I'm going to use the A because this doesn't have a C port. Just going to take your drive. Try not to touch the pins like I just did. Going to just plug it in. There's no tools. It just pops right over the little rubber grommet there, just like that. Cover it back up just to make it look pretty. But you can, I'll put a link down below where you can buy one of these. It's pretty versatile. It'll support all the Gen 3 and Gen 4 PCI Express NVMe SSDs. So I'm just going to pop it into a USB 3.0 port over on the side here. So that's a brand new drive. And I'm going to open up the software. I've already installed it. It's right there as a shortcut. Now this computer isn't the fastest in the world. So hopefully the clone won't take too long doing it this way. But I like to do these videos. Yes, I know it's another cloning video, but I like to do them on as many different models as I can in case it's the model you have at home and you want to do it yourself. So as soon as the software opens up here, we're going to choose our source and our destination drive, which in this case will be the one we put in our adapter over here. Here's the C cable for that M.2 adapter. I never know how long these clones are going to take, but this computer has an AMD Ryzen 3 2200U processor. It's kind of the lowest end of the low of the Ryzen 3 CPUs. So it doesn't have too much kick, but going from a mechanical hard drive to an M.2 NVMe drive should make a noticeable difference. She just doesn't like the fact that it takes so long to boot up. So I know this is going to be kind of hard to see, but up here you only have one choice for the source. It's the Seagate hard drive. Down here is our target, which should be our Samsung 980 SSD right there. And oops, sorry about that. All we have to do is click on the start button right down here in the corner, and that's it. Just click on that. I'm going to hit OK. It's just letting you know when it's all done, it'll automatically shut down the computer so we can open it up and install the drive. Now, before you get going on the clone, I'm going to hit OK to get this going here, guys. But do a little prep work on it. Maybe run a check disk /R at the command prompt as administrator, just in case there's any disk errors it can take care of. And don't be connected to the internet like I am right now. Let me disconnect from my Wi-Fi. I usually do that, but I was talking too much and forgot. So yeah, don't be connected to the internet when you're doing a clone. You don't want updates downloading or trying to install in the background. Disable any programs that are running, or exit them. And go into power management and turn off sleep mode. And no, I shouldn't be doing this while the clone's trying to start, but if you go into power options here, And I'm going to go over to, well, let's see, when plugged in, okay, it's already, everything's set to never, so we don't have to worry about that. Maybe I did already do that. So yeah, just, you don't want the computer going to sleep. Make sure you get your AC adapter plugged in when you're doing a clone like this, and just don't have the computer busy doing other stuff. So once a clone starts, just basically walk away from it, let it finish, no matter how long it might take. The faster the CPU is in your computer, the faster the clones go. It's not so much RAM, but if this were like, you know, even an i3, an i5, or an i7 or something like that, the clones go pretty darn quick. But on this processor, it's probably going to take a little bit of time. But you can see we're still sitting here at 0%. Hasn't started yet. And with these Dells, another thing to do is go into update and security and make sure that device encryption is turned off. It will not clone if encryption is turned on. I see that often on these Dell laptops, that they have that device encryption in there. Little lights blinking on the adapter over here. All right, so it has started. You can see the data starting to count up there. Looks like it will take a while, but for the video, I will fast forward this to get to the end, and then I'll come back and I can open it up and put in the new parts. There, we're at 1%. So I'm just going to let this go, and I'll be back shortly. All right, guys, I'm back. Look at that. We had a clone that took about, said it was about 25, 26 minutes. Not too bad considering the CPU, but I'm going to hit shut down now. And then I'm going to get set up here and open it up and install the new drive. It was a Samsung SSD 980, 500 gigabyte NVMe. It's a Gen 3 of the 980 M.2 drives. So we're going to get that in there, take out the old hard drive. I'm going to zap that. Making an empty 1 terabyte hard drive for extra storage, and let's shut her down. All right, guys, got her all shut down. I'm going to go ahead and open it up. Now, a couple things on this when it came in. First of all, several of the screws were missing. Like I said, somebody went inside this thing, I think, to put the extra memory in it. A bunch of the screws were missing. One of these screws along the back was in the wrong hole. The screws along the back are supposed to actually stay in. It's kind of hard to see, but they have like a little shoulder on them that's unthreaded. So I'm just going to make sure I get the right screws back in the right hole. But these screws here, using like a number 0 Phillips screw, just got to make sure they're unthreaded all the way. They usually click a couple of times. And then this screw here, these other screws are all the same length. But this one here holds the optical drive in, which I'm gonna slide out. If it doesn't slide out easy, don't pull on that faceplate, it'll rip it off. You can use a little paper clip in the little eject hole so you can pop it open to get a hold of it better if you need be. And before you get inside your laptop, always make sure you protect yourself from static electricity and use good quality tools. Oops, sorry, I bumped my camera with my wheelchair. Just be careful when you slide, don't touch anything you don't have to. So now that I got all the screws out, I'm going to put it back over here and take my little plastic spudger tool, triangle spudger, and I'll have a link down below where you can get all this stuff, including the adapter here that our drive is currently residing in. Pop that out. Our SSD 980 M.2 Gen 3 drive. Alright, so I'm going to open the lid back up, take my spudger. There's a seam right along here. You can see it. These should slip in there without too much trouble, and just kind of gently go along the front here. Won't scratch it. Don't use any metal tools in there. I mean, like somebody did over here. They just probably used whatever they had laying around. Kind of pop it loose. That bottom pan's going to come off. So that's about all I'm going to do from there. Close my lid. And I'm gonna take my other little Mr. Spudger here. Just kind of get it in there. Be gentle. I'll come over. Oh, actually that came right loose. So there's that. Okay, lay of the land here is pretty straightforward. Here's the hard drive we just cloned on the new M.2 drive. I'm just going to get that right out of there, install the new M.2 NVMe SSD right over here. Here's the M.2 PCI Express slot. They were kind enough to give us a mounting screw right there for the M.2 drive. Battery, 2 RAM slots, Wi-Fi card, CPU, cooling fan, optical drive bay. All right, so let me take my number 0 Phillips screwdriver here, and I'm going to get this hard drive out of here. There's just 4 screws holding that caddy in. Here, 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 and here. Okay? So, the battery is still connected. If you're really, really careful and don't drop anything on that motherboard, you should be okay. But if you want to disconnect the battery, it connects right here to the motherboard. Here, I'll disconnect this for you. Got to get it up here so we can get a hold of it. So you're just going to pull this little tab up, and you're going to pull back on the battery off the motherboard carefully, just like that. But if you're going to do that, go an extra step, carefully open it up and just hold in the power button a few times to discharge any extra juice that's flowing around in the circuits in there. So in case you do have an accident and drop something, the battery's disconnected. We just got to remember to reconnect it before you button it back up. All right, let me get these caddy screws out of here. It should be a pretty straightforward upgrade. Now you could also, if you don't have an M.2 NVMe SSD, you could easily replace this with a 2.5-inch SATA SSD over here, or have 2 SSDs, however you want to do it, combination thereof, don't really matter. But in this case, once I know I have a good clone, then I'm going to zap this hard drive. And I'm going to lift it up carefully here. Get a hold of it. Now the cable, you can see, kind of runs over here under the battery and connects to the motherboard, but sometimes these come off hard. Oh, not too bad. Get your fingernail on it, that way you don't have to discombobulate it from the motherboard. So I'm going to go ahead and set that off to the side for right now. Take out my little mounting screw right here for the M.2 drive. Set that over there. Shouldn't have to go into the BIOS and do anything on these. Should just find the drive automatically. Again, don't touch anything in here. You really don't have to, guys, even though the battery is disconnected. Just be always careful. All right, so we got that in. I'm not going to worry about that right this minute. I'm going to hook my battery back up to fire it up for the first time, and hopefully we got a good clone over there on our new M.2 drive. Take your time hooking the battery back up. You don't want to force it, so to speak. Get it to click in there nice, which it did. So I'm going to put this back on it temporarily. I'm not going to button it back up completely. I just want it on there to protect everything down there. I'm going to hit Mr. Power button there. Hopefully you can see that, kinda. See if it'll boot up. If it does, I'm going to take that hard drive out of the caddy. I'm going to just wipe it over on my other computer over there real quick, put it back in. I'll initialize it when we get back into Windows. And of course, Windows updates. And it's already 1000% pass through. This thing took forever to boot before. But I got to do some tuning up, get the 21H2 Windows 10 on here, kind of tune it up, clean it up for. Look, we got a good clone. Now when all is said and done, you can go and uninstall your data migration software. You don't need it anymore. It's always free to download if you did need it again. So now that I know I got a good clone, it's already so much faster. I'm going to go ahead and do a shutdown. And it's got a lighted keyboard too, which is kind of nice. On a Ryzen 3 2200U processor. Pardon me for sniffing, guys. I got the sniffles. I pretty much have those all winter. Alright, so it's shut down. UPS is right next door.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry. You're in the wrong place.
Alright. We'll let it slide. Alright, so got the battery connectors. We got to be careful, so I'm going to take this hard drive out of here. Could just hook it up with a dongle. Actually, I'm going to do that. I'll be right back, guys, okay? Alright, I'm back. Click Mr. Microphone. Alright, I zapped the drive. We're going to initialize it back in Windows. We're going to carefully, again, our battery's still attached there, so I got to be kind of careful. I just didn't feel like taking it out of the caddy. I'm able to just zap them real quick without too much difficulty. Now that we know I got a good clone, just make sure your cable's attached all the way, which it is. So now she'll have a 500 gig NVMe M.2 SSD and a 1 terabyte hard drive. Now I know some people have left in comments when I've done this before that leaving that hard drive in there or having a hard drive in along with that, it's gonna drain the battery and all blah blah blah, but I never really know what to say to that. Number one, you can go into power management and you can turn hard disk off. You can set it to a certain amount of time after a minute, 5 minutes, where it just shuts her down when it's not being used. Pretty simple to do in power management. Yeah, if it's just sitting there spinning and you're not doing anything, it's just sitting there spinning all the time, yeah, it's gonna probably use a little more battery, but it's kind of a trade-off. I gave her the option. She said, yeah, you might as well just put it in there. So again, power management can help take care of that. You can just adjust how long you want it to stay on when it's not in use. All right, so we're good. We got battery. Gonna put this back on. I'm gonna snap it in. I'm not gonna put all those screws back in just yet. Again, I like to always make sure I'm A-okay on everything. And when you're squeezing your laptop back together, always remember you got a screen under here. If you squeeze really hard with your thumbs, you could actually pop your screen if you squeeze it too hard, so always be conscious of that. So let me just carefully put it over this way. Make sure we're all the way back down, which we are. Oh, let me go ahead and, sorry, let me put Mr. Optical Drive back in just so it's in there with drive letters and all that fun stuff. When we do that hard drive, oop, that's not the one I wanted in there. Yeah, it is. Pay attention, Dale. Go to Mr. Number 1 here. Better bite for the buck. Well, that's interesting. Boy, whoever took this apart before, I don't think really knew what they were doing. Anyway. So, that fan looked okay inside, by the way. So we're going to boot it back up, do one quick little thing. Boom. I like it. SSDs are awesome, especially an NVMe SSD. So I'm going to go over to my start button here. I'm going to right click on it. I'm just going to go to disk management. Hopefully it sees the 1 terabyte hard drive we put back in there. Should pop right up. There it is. And I asked her about partitions. She said, nope, just leave it. So there's a 1 terabyte unallocated. I'm just going to right click on it, choose new simple volume, hit next. Accept the defaults here because I'm not going to do any partitions on it. Drive letter D, which is what we want. Oops. And you can name it whatever you want here. Excuse me, I'll just put HDD. Hit next and finish. Do a little quick format there. Boom. So now, Oh, yeah, my bad. Over here under this PC, there's our 1 terabyte hard drive we just initialized. There's our 500 gig M.2 drive, ready to rock and roll. All right, guys, so yeah, everything went pretty good. The clone did take about 28 minutes overall. Not bad, again, considering the speed of the processor. But I've been using quite a few of these SSD 980s, Gen 3 M.2 drives. They perform pretty well. I like them. They work great. So check out more of my videos. Smash that like and subscribe button. I would appreciate it, guys. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.